All right, guys. This is the last update. This is the last update we're ever going to have on the Freightliner dump truck project. Started off as originally an AMT out of the box kit that got highly customized and modified. As you saw, if you followed the long series, this series definitely was over a year. My builds usually take close to 2. But I wanted pretty much, I just got to pop the bed on, glue the mirrors and the wipers that I said I would do last because they break real easy. And then we're done pretty much. It's the dump truck. I kind of, as I was waiting for glue and paint to dry, I kind of popped on a plate and then a fifth wheel just for like an ex-girlfriend who used to always say, just for shits and giggles. And I like the way, I like the look. It just, looking at this, the way it's set up like that, these are really good looking kits. I mean, I'm just blown away. We're used to the cab with the sleeper, but if you can pick up one of these and turn it in any type of configuration, I've been on YouTube like the last month looking at the day cab versions of the real ones running around on YouTube, whether it has the 2 axles on the rear or just the single axle. My God, they're beautiful. They're just cute. I wouldn't mind building another one, but that's why I did that. So let me give you an example here. You got the fifth wheel on there. You put your exhaust on. You know, they're good looking kits. And the configurations that you can model or copy, the different configurations that were out there in real life, depending on what the particular company who ordered either 1 or 2 or a whole fleet of them, what their particular requirements were. And then into the modern times where guys pick these up and just totally doll them up to their taste. It just goes on and on and on. And I seriously have been lost in the YouTube world of Freightliner day cab units running around, and I've gotten a lot of ideas which I may or may not build upon later on down the road. But what I wanted to share with you guys, I wanted to share that with you. Number one is, if you guys haven't seen the Freightliner cab overs, the day cab version, check it out. If they usually are, I think, are packaged in like a 50th anniversary series or something like that, and you can either build, it's a 2-in-1 kit, so the same kit you can either build the 2 axles on the rear or a single axle. And you'll notice because the box will say SD and DD, which stands for single whatever, and DD, who knows. But anyways, check them out because I really am impressed. I know we all knock AMT and the Freightliner kit, and sometimes it's justified, sometimes it is, and sometimes we take the easy way out and vent. But look at that. It's you would have no problem just turning this into a regular rig, not a dump truck, and not getting all crazy like I did. And that's just an impressive setup. And the single axle are as cute as a bug on a rug. Look at that. Well, let's play around with that a little bit more. How could you not love that? And there's plenty of them out there running around on YouTube in the day cab single axle version. Okay, real quick. Here's what I want to talk to you about. Let's do this. Why am I bringing this up? That's a good question. But let's check it out together. By the way, I'm filming right now because I literally don't have anything to do. I'm locked inside today because the eye of the Hurricane Hillary, which his name just absolutely cracks me up. She hasn't reached here yet. She'll be reaching here in a handful of hours. We're just getting a steady, hard to medium type rain, but nothing crazy. Apparently, they say the crazy stuff's coming with high winds and stuff like that. I've never been, California has never been through a hurricane or a tropical storm. Not since, I think it was 83 years, they said. So this will be interesting, and we're all going to be learning together. Right there. So that's got to be the most ugliest guitar, yet the most sexiest guitar in the history of guitars in the music world. I've been watching a lot of videotapes on Eddie Van Halen here recently since his passing, and how he explains his thought process behind his music writing, his rig setup, his custom setups on particular guitars, the history behind the Frankenstrat here, which is what we're watching. So what does this have to do with this? Well, actually there's many things in common, many things not, but okay. Now, brand new YouTube channel out there on YouTube, Ed Hood, and I want to thank him for he's taking another approach to building AMT kits or 125th kits. He works both on the vehicles and on the big rigs, and he's doing a couple right now. I think he's doing a Chevy dually. I might be wrong on that. It might be just a regular full-size Chevy truck, pickup truck, and he's doing a Peterbilt. No, I'm sorry. He's doing a California hauler, if I remember correctly, that he's going to customize. If you guys get a chance, check out Ed Hood's YouTube channel. Brand new channel. Hit the like button, subscribe, send him some love. But I love his calm demeanor, his calming voice to his builds, and he walks you along all the steps. And it piqued my interest how he was approaching. He cuts out the frames on the AMT kits, and he builds up his own frames out of styrene. And they look fantastic so far, what I've seen, and he's just barely starting out. If you're interested, and he doesn't just do the big rigs, he does 125th AMT automobiles, like I'm assuming muscle cars and stuff like that. But it got me thinking. Everybody, he gave me some kind words. He said I have a different way of doing things, more or less, and so does he. And both versions of our stuff, once completed, tend to stand out. But at least in his eyes and in my eyes, our own project, when laid out with others, I like what I do. I actually do, and so does he, and so does everybody else on here who does a little bit more building than just regular outside the box AMT kit, and they take it just a slightly step forward or many steps forward because they see something. So the story is Eddie Van Halen as a teenager, his parents, whether or not they could afford it, I don't remember quite the story. I don't think they could, because I think the father had to go work playing music, like finding gigs, playing music at night so he can pay the bills for the family. And they would get Eddie and Alex, like every other Christmas, they'd get them some cheap drum set or some cheap electric guitar, like from a Sears catalog, single pickup. They come with a case and everything, but they're absolutely worthless. But that's what he would get. So he knew what the top of the line electric guitars were, but he couldn't get one, so he built his own one. And I remember this story going back when I was in my early 20s. He found a music store out there in the valley, and he went to the back. He was, what's all this? He found a big old drum, and it was full of guitar parts. And the owner of the guitar store told him those are factory blends. He goes, what's that? He goes, well, those are bodies and necks and different components that came out with slight defects, and they couldn't sell them, so they sell them in bulk so people can buy them, and build their own guitar if that's how they choose. And that's what he did. He got an idea from that. And so his Frankenstrat had a Kramer neck, but never got to the Kramer factory or got kicked out of the, rejected by the Kramer factory. It's got the, I don't know if it's a Kramer body or Chevere or even Ibanez body. He's got the Floyd Royd pickups. So all this stuff he did himself. Now keep in mind, he was a classically trained, him and his brother and his dad, classically trained, gifted musicians out of Holland. So music was in his blood as far as mechanically, everything. He owned it. There was no doubt in what he wanted. If he saw something and crash and burn type thing, if it didn't work, then he'd figure it out to make it work. So you all heard the stories. He went ahead, he got it was just a plain body, just wood. He went ahead and painted up all these stripes. I believe it was yellow at first or white, and then he painted it in red. So he did all this crazy paint work, which we all know and love. Got the Floyd Roys on here, his double humbuckers, single coil pickup, his supposedly quote unquote switch to switch his stuff around. This is a quarter. I forgot what he used it for. Oh, this is to keep the Floyd Rose set up even, so it doesn't go out of tune when it goes up or down. He only used half a pick guard. You can see where he cut it. He only had one knob. It goes on and on and on what he did, and he wasn't doing it to be different or goofy or anything. He knew what he wanted. He knew what he wanted his guitar to do. He could only afford this. If he could have bought a more expensive guitar and done this to it, he probably would have done it, but this is what he knew was going to work for what he envisioned going on in Van Halen. That's exactly what happened. This is a fake coil. He wanted to look cool. According to what he says, he wanted to look cool. He didn't want it to show up with, one pair coils here. So, and it had holes for all three. This would be a double, and a single. So this is literally, when you look at it closely, we're not going to watch the whole thing, but when you look at it closely, that's actually a piece of Bakelite plastic that he just kind of, I'm going to say, glued on there underneath. It's a dummy. It doesn't work. It's not connected. This is the working one here. Now, he tried to wire them in series. He says he didn't know how to solder very good, and he didn't know about electrical, circuits and stuff. So he kept failing at that. So he said, screw it. He left all the wiring in there so it looks like it was connected, but it's not. It's actually a dummy. The wiring ends right there. This was wired. Goes on and on and on. He's got eye hooks that he bought at a hardware store for his guitar straps. He's got reflectors in the back. In back of the Floyd rolls, on the back of the body, inside, the weird stuff he did there, but everything worked, man. And I guess that's what Ed Hood and I've been trying to tell you guys. And people like B&R's Northern Horse Journey, Dave Parsley, Tom Klein, who contributes, Michael Cook, who contribute the Cook bar. And here we got a reverse version of the Cook bar. It just goes on and on and on. So when we say building out of the box or improving a model, we don't necessarily mean going bonkers. But if you envision something, that's what you want, and it works, and it looks great for you on your model, go for it. I think you'll be a hell of a lot better modeler for it. So it's called a Frankenstrat, the ugliest guitar on the planet, yet the most sexiest, famous guitar in the freaking world, hanging up in the Smithsonian Institute. It's starting to rain a little harder now. But this whole long, drawn-out explanation is, I'm getting to this. Now, we connected, I mentioned Michael Cook and his Cook bar. In this case, we do have a Cook bar underneath, I believe. No. We did a reverse Cook bar, not because it needed it, but rather for the cylinder to go in through that hole and keep everything lined up. So it's more like a reverse Cook bar, if you want to call it that. And that's an inside joke here that we toss around. But I was right. I've been looking at real video of the Freightliner dump truck setups, and I kind of have it right here. The only difference is they don't have this hole here in a plate. They have kind of like a ring, a metal ring on a plate. And then they got all this, which I added over the weekend. So think. Stuff that he sees that once he knows will work for him, I wasn't afraid to do that, and it came out perfect. And it's metal. You can work that dump bed up and down with force. It doesn't budge, and she operates very, very well. I put my cab on. You know, I use my hinge system in the front. Once again, something I came up with that I envisioned. And it works great, except here I sanded the inside of the cab walls very thin to give it that nice look that you see here. In doing so, over time, it starts to tweak, or I won't say warp, but it'll shift on you a little bit. It gets slightly cockeyed. So when I sat the cab on in its hinges, the back part kind of sat a little bit like that. Plus I still had to put different cab mounts because the AMT cab mounts didn't work on my setup, because if you guys remember, I raised my cab on my AMT Freightliner, because according to the one I was modeling and according to the one that comes in the AMT boxes, they were totally different. Mine had to sit a little higher, so I'm going to have to make my own custom taller cab mounts. But what I wanted to show you was this. In order to get the cab lined up and finish this series here, the cab is no longer tweaked, so I put a brass rod here to keep the cab. It bangs up against the frame like this to keep the cab from wanting to walk this way, which it did it slightly there, see? And then on this side, I just put a piece of styrene. It's not correct, doesn't look good. I'll paint it black, but that tells me when I build my cab mounts, that's going to be the correct height. We'll remove that. We'll put some nice cab mounts in there made out of styrene probably, and paint them black. And then the cab will be straightened out by then. This metal rod or brass rod keeps it from walking this way. It's improved greatly. It's about 1/16 of an inch now. And I'll set up the cab mounts so it prevents the cab from going that way. But we'll figure out something, because I don't see it as a problem at all. I see it as something I want to improve that I see in my mind. Another thing I want to share with you guys real quick. We did our own air cleaner box, that air cleaner duct work right there. You can't see it, but it's got an actual aluminum tubing on either end. I kind of have them pushed in right now. Once again, that's what I saw on the real one, and that's what I wanted to do to my model. Maybe one day it will be in the Smithsonian Institute right along Eddie Van Halen's guitar. All right. And I want to show you guys this. Got the metal bumper on there. The grill that goes in the middle section, we were going to use the AMT provided plastic one, but I said, nah, that ain't going to work. I still had plenty of the photo etch that I used on the grill there. So I went ahead and cut the correct piece. I put the metal framework all around the sides. I put the Texas license plate. In this case, I looked through all my decals. I did not have the correct, for these years here, which is mid-90s, Texas license plate to match the one in the video. This is the one I found that looked closely to it, but actually it says, instead of Texas, it says Tennessee, T-E-N-N. Once again, I'll order the correct decals here. When they come in, I'll go ahead and pop that in. As you can tell, neither the AMT kit nor what I was building never even addressed. I didn't even address, I totally forgot about it, your cab steps. And this is how they were on the real one down in Austin, Texas. And these cab steps we made out of metal wire. On the real one we're modeling, it only goes one on this side down here, and on the other side it does not have a step underneath the cab door, so I guess the driver steps on top of the tire. But we went ahead and made our own. And on our dump bed, something I never even thought about adding, and I finally added it, is these reflectors. They come with the AMT kit. You gotta try and leave them on the sprue and sand them real round because they have a lot of flash on them and stuff. It's hard to do, but you'll lose a couple, but they give you more than enough extras. And I put them on the model, but they stood out too much because on the real one, they have a black ring around them. And ours is just a solid piece of one color. So they kind of stood out. Very obvious. So what I did is I got Tamiya panel line. In black. With the panel line, what I did is I just touched it on one end. The capillary action takes the black panel line all around the little ends. Kind of clean it up because sometimes you get a little bit too much. And they look like they got those black rings around them. The truck's dirty and rusted anyways, so it doesn't really hurt it. Let me see, we're pretty much done. I think that's about it, all I got to explain. The mirrors, the wipers we'll put on at the end. Yeah, I did have something I want to show you guys. So we got our beautiful metal bumper. You know, on these models, the cabs usually sit cockeyed one way to another, and so does the bumper if you're not careful, or the frame when you built it. To get each piece right as you get into your build process, it involves time, and you got to sit down and seriously look at it and measure and address it and make your corrections and stuff. I got the cab on. There's a lot of pieces on this Freightliner kit that adds to that equation of trying to figure it out. On an ordinary model, the Freightliner has more steps, especially when you add your own grill. Now you got more pieces you have to address. Everything has to be lined up perfect. So the final piece to go on this thing will be the bump. This intermediate piece will go in there. But to make sure everything lines up, or to be prepared in case something is slightly cockeyed, I went ahead and mounted my bumper on this particular model, and I think on another one, with magnets. So, and that's the way it's going to be. The final version she'll be installed with magnets. You can see them right there. And if my bumper and the cab don't match and one's more cockeyed than the other, I can make the corrections on the final finished product way at the bottom, either this way or that way, just with those magnets. So once again, not because I'm a hot shot or a big shot or anything like that. I'm thinking outside the box, what will work for me, just like Eddie Van Halen and his Frankenstrap. Whew, so that's kind of what I wanted to share with everybody. Oh, real quick, another last thing. What I forgot, along with the cab, you know, the little cab steps, these little guys here, these will go right there. Along with that I have forgotten that and that, the Freightliner cab over units have a brake release handle here and on here. Most, if not all, of the sleeper cabs have the double, one on one side, one on the other. Not all single cab or day cab versions have one on this side and this side. All AMT kits give you two of them. A lot of the single cabs only have one. On our particular model, I think we have it on this side. We only have one. And I took a picture of one. I found one on YouTube. Actually, I used Landon Durant's consolidated Freightliner. And here's the part you get out of the box from AMT. And how it looks in real life is totally different. So last thing I'm going to do, especially since we can't go anywhere today and we're going to be hit with the eye of the storm, with the eye of Hillary, the same one that used to give old Bill Clinton the evil eye. Well, we got her evil eye moving through here in about 2 hours. So I'll be here working on stuff. Hopefully no issues with power going on and stuff like that. I'm going to make that all a brass so it looks correct according to the ones that are on the real one, on Landon Durant's consolidated consolidated Freightliner. Woo, man. So that was a lot to say. But I did want to share all that good stuff with you guys. Doesn't hurt to think out of the box. Not just, and now we have a new member, new YouTube channel. Check out Ed Hood's YouTube channel. And you can see where he's going. And he's a gifted modeler. And he really, really reminds me of Bob Ross when he talks. Thank you for that shout out, Ed. I really appreciate that. All you guys take care. Have an awesome weekend. And those of you guys out here on the West Coast, have a safe, be safe weekend. You guys take care.